Kasturi Muralikrishna, a Telugu writer, who has recently written a story, almost a science fiction story. So, I request you to hear the story and express your opinion. And before I start reading my story, I would like to make a statement, a disclaimer, that this story is purely fiction. It doesn't resemble anyone, or it is not a criticism of anyone. If at all it resembles anything that happened around, or it resembles any personality, it is purely coincidental but not intentional. So, after this disclaimer, I shall start reading the story now in English. It is a Telugu story, Chupudu Velu Undakudani Manushudu, written by me, Kasturi Muralikrishna. In English, the name of the story is The People Who Do Not Deserve to Have an Index Finger. The people who do not deserve to have an index finger. Now the story starts. What is the punishment for pointing an index finger at us? What is the punishment for pointing an index finger? Cut the finger, cut the finger. What is the punishment for insulting humans? What is the punishment for insulting terrestrials? Cut the index finger, cut the index finger. Humans, terrestrials, gathered in large numbers and are shouting with joy and exuberance. Only one person is asking the question, but as a mob, in thousands of numbers, the terrestrials are answering the question. It has been long, since very long, that an event of this magnitude happened here. It is an event where the index finger of a Martian is being cut. All terrestrials are very happy, they are excited, and they are angry, and they are all shouting with joy and shouting in anger that the index finger has to be cut immediately. And they are all not looking like humans, they are almost like animals. But the Martians, who are not supposed to have an index finger, are burning in anger, but they can do nothing about it. So they are just burning in anger and are fretting about it. But the small boy Rutam is unable to understand what is happening. He just asked his mother, "Mother, what is happening around here? Why are we all frightened? Why are we all trembling with fright?" Innocently asked Rutam. He is so small that he is yet to understand the meaning of fear. He is yet to understand what hatred is, what anger is. He is so small, and he doesn't even understand what apartheid is, how people discriminate one from the other. His mother was silent. His mother was silent. Her eyes were burning with anger, but shedding tears in grief. The boy could hear shouts outside. "If anyone else has an index finger, come forward, we'll cut it," they are shouting. "What is happening, mother?" Rutam asked again. She looked at the child and answered slowly, "How many fingers do you have?" He started counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. "Yes, I have 4 fingers," he said. "Jiva, who plays along with you, who is a terrestrial, how many fingers does he have?" 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. "He has 5 fingers." Rutam recounted the fingers of Jiva and then told mother, "Look, now you understood? We have only 4 fingers, while the terrestrials have 5 fingers. And now you tell me, what is that finger which they have and we do not have?" Rutam started counting in his mind the names of the fingers, and then he answered slowly, "The index finger." Now you understood? They are terrestrials. They belong to Earth. They came to our planet. We are Martians. Mars is our land, not their land. We allowed them to come here. We welcomed them. We sheltered them. But the terrestrials are not so good. They are very bad. They are selfish. We gave them shelter, but they dominated us. They took the power from us. And to distinguish between a terrestrial and a Martian, they put a rule that Martians should not have an index finger, and that is why we do not have an index finger. And if at all some of us get an index finger, immediately they cut it. But why should we have an index finger? Asked Rutam. What is the purpose of an index finger? What do we do with it? Asked the mother. We point out at someone. That is why we should never point out their mistakes. We should not question them. We should not criticize them. We never should say anything against them. And that is why we are not supposed to have an index finger, said his mother in anger. And one can easily discern her anger at the injustice that is being meted out to Martians. Why? Asked the child again. That's it. It is the same. Our ancestors have agreed to this. And if we do not agree to this rule, they would frighten us, they would kill us, they would destroy our homes, and they would terrorize us. And after all, after doing all this, they would say that we are responsible for inciting them, and we are responsible for whatever fate has been meted out to us. And so, and everybody says that we are at fault. Even our own people fault us. And if they say that terrestrials are at fault, they would kill them too. That is why we have accepted the hegemony of terrestrials, and we accepted that they are superiors, and because of that we became people without index finger. And that is why, because they have an index finger, they always point out at us, they always criticize us, and then sometimes some of us will get an index finger, then we start pointing back at them, then they all come together, cut our finger, and then that is the problem, because however much they cut our index fingers, someone or the other is developing the finger, she said in despair. And she is not in a state to understand, or she is not in a state to see if Rutam has understood it or not. Rutam is hearing his mother. He has understood some, did not understand some, but he is able to hear the happy, joyous shoutings outside, and then the horrendous cries of people whose index finger is being cut. Rutam's body is trembling. He is feeling very sad, bad, and frightened. And then he looked at the place where index finger supposed to have been, but now the place is empty. Then he is frightened. He felt as if he is getting an index finger. Then he thought to himself, am I generating an index finger? He just trembled in fright. Rutam is unable to sleep. As he is growing up, his fear of index finger also is growing. Not just that, and he is afraid that his index finger is growing. Then he started observing others, everybody who is different from him. He started studying the history of Martians, and he is trying to understand the Martian society and where their weakness has come from. And Rutam has developed this habit of observing everybody's index finger or the place where the index finger is supposed to have been. And then he understood the discrimination that they are facing because they do not have or lack an index finger. And because they have an index finger, the terrestrials are able to criticize Martians for every damn silly thing. And they are able to point out the mistakes of Martians, criticize them, insult them, and they are insulting everything that is sacred to Martians, every silly thing. And then, after all doing all this, they say that it is the Martians who are insulting terrestrials and who are doing a lot of injustice to terrestrials. And after saying that, whenever they are angry, they terrorize Martians, they kill Martians, and then the courts also sentence Martians for the mistakes that they have not committed. Now, Rhythm has understood the importance of index finger, and because the lack of index fingers, what they are losing, Rhythm understood. And Rhythm understood one more thing, that their own people, his own Martians are also responsible for the injustice that is being meted out to Martians, because they think that Martians are useless, Martians are inferior, and they should accept the superiority of terrestrials and do as they say and never raise their voice or head against terrestrials. Then one day, Rutam asked his teacher, why these terrestrials are looking down upon us. If the terrestrials look down upon us, it is understandable because they have ego and they think they are superior. But why our own Martian people try to discredit us, try to make us feel inferior? Don't we have something called self-respect? The teacher looked carefully at Rutam, asked him, "What is the last word that you uttered?" Rutam is afraid now, and he slowly said, "Self-respect." "Come on, show me your hand," asked the teacher. He observed hand of Rutam very carefully, then asked him to go. And then from that day onwards, not just the teacher, but everyone who is studying along with Rutam stopped interacting with him. They are keeping him at a distance and they are indifferent to him. They behave as if Rutam does not exist at all. Not just terrestrials. Even Martians started behaving as if Rutam does not exist. And then Rutam is getting so many doubts day by day, and there is nobody to ask, nobody to clear his doubts and tell him what is good, what is bad, and then put things in proper perspective. One fine day, by accident, Rutam discovered a big cave underneath the Martian surface. There he found that a lot of knowledge that is supposed to be useless, that is supposed to be redundant. Then he started trying to understand that knowledge which is supposed to be redundant and useless and was thrown in the dustbin. And then he found many answers. He found almost all answers to his questions. He found so much of knowledge there that all his doubts were cleared. And then he started thinking about it, that what is the real knowledge is now thrown in a dustbin and labeled as not knowledge at all, a redundant knowledge. Then he started thinking about it. He started understanding the Martian psychology. He started understanding the terrestrial psychology. And now he started understanding his own society, his own people, and why they think that Martians themselves are idiots or inferior to terrestrials, and why everybody is trying to teach Martians that they are useless people. Then, as his knowledge is increasing, as his understanding of the things around him increasing, his index finger also started to develop. When he was a child, he was afraid of developing an index finger. But now that he understood so many things, he is proud of his developing index finger. But he hid it so that nobody knows that he developed an index finger. Because if anybody knows about it, they are ready to cut it. Then his lover asked him one day, "I doubt if you are developing an index finger." Ritam was afraid. He tried to control his fear and asked her, "Why do you feel that way?" "Because you don't have any friends in terrestrials, no Martian intellectual or any famous Martian people do not speak to you. They never give you a chance to speak, and even if you speak, they feign indifference and they behave as if you don't exist. And you too don't try to go after them, try to placate them, try to please them. You stay aloof. So this gives me a fear that, or a suspicion that you are developing an index finger. Kindly show me your hand," she asked. Rutam stayed silent. He did not show her his hand, but stopped meeting her from that day onwards. And one day, by accident, an unknown person met him, a stranger met him, and called him, "Come with me, I have some work with you." "What is the work? Why should I come with you?" asked Rutam. Because so many times, anybody with an index finger is called saying that they have some work with him, and then he disappears. So Ritam did not want that to happen to him. And he understood that his lover must have broached this up to somebody, and people now suspect him of developing an index finger. The stranger laughed at the words of Ritam. He looked around. When nobody is there, when ensuring that nobody is observing them, he showed his index finger. Ritam followed him silently. Then he found out that there are so many people with developed index finger in Mars. And he heard an old man speaking. Terrestrials are afraid of our index finger because they use an index finger to point out fingers at others, sentencing others, or maligning others. But we use index finger to speak truth, to show truth, an absolute truth that does not change with time. And terrestrials, they cannot bear truth. And so they try to destroy the truth by destroying our index finger. But this index finger, which points out absolute truth, is our strength. And we have to develop this, keep it. There is a philosophy developed by an intellectual on terrestrial that through disuse, we lose, through disuse, the future generations do not develop that organ which is being not used. And so they started cutting our index finger, hoping that after a few generations that we'd stop developing index finger. But it is not so. They do not understand that even if a tree is destroyed from its roots, its seed will be there in the air, and whenever there is a proper opportunity, environment, it grows again. The same way, however much they destroy our index finger, some of us develop index finger and then we will point out them. But because they are destroying our index finger, they are trying to divide us, they are trying to show somebody inferior, somebody is superior among us, and we are not united. But what we should do is, it is our duty to unite and to take everyone along with us, and then when everyone develops an index finger, point the finger at terrestrials to drive them out of our Mars planet. Or they should understand the superiority, equality of us and start living in harmony with us. But Rhythm got it out. He asked, I understood whatever you say. Index finger is our strength. But terrestrials by nature have ego, they anger, and they do not think, and they act irrationally. This is a part of human nature. So it is impossible or unbelievable that they will listen to reason and leave us. The old man looked at Rhythm carefully and said, yes, your doubt is correct, but we are people who do not like violence. We are peace-loving people. And violence is a part of animal nature. And humans or terrestrials have that animalistic nature in them. And they are trying to get out of that animalistic nature. But we do not have animals in us. So we don't subscribe to violence. Shanti is our mantra, he said. Rhythm did not like his answer. And he did not want to argue and invite more attention. So he kept silent. And when Rhythm left, the old man told his friend, keep an eye on this fellow. He might cause a lot of danger to our Martians. Then when Rhythm is coming home, a stranger again met him. He said, your doubt expressed in the meeting is very valuable. And so we actually have a secret society. Please come with us and listen to us. Rhythm went with him. There another man was lecturing. Terrestrials do not listen to reason. They don't understand reason. They always get their work done by terrorizing others. So it is terrorizing others is part of their nature. And if you point out fingers at us, if you point out the mistakes in their thinking, they won't agree to it. They will terrorize us. They will kill us. They will frighten us. So we have to give back to them in the same language. If they cut our index finger, we have to cut their index finger. Eye for an eye. Only that way, by terrorizing them back, we can drive them out of Mars, drive them out of our planet, or see that they live in harmony with us. Rhythm did not like this also. He said, we don't like violence, and man does not listen to reason. Then what is the way to drive them out, or what is the way to live in harmony with us? To accept that even Martians are equal to them. Rhythm is thinking, and he finds no end to his thinking. There is no solution to the problem that he is thinking about. He started reading the history of Earth. He understood that even on Earth, there is a lot of hatred, there is a lot of violence, and there is a lot of killing going on based on caste, creed, country, isms, and also based on religion. He understood that there is a lot of discrimination and apartheid going on the earth. But it is the person who holds the reign, it is the person who holds the reins of violence, who by violent means, by terrorizing others, he rules over others. And by terrorizing, everybody becomes subservient to him. So Rhythm thought, humans who commit violence on their own people, There is no wonder that they commit violence on Martians and try to subjugate us. Then he understood the importance of index finger, and he started very carefully hiding it from others, and started using his knowledge very discriminately. And then one fine day, somehow the news that Rhythm is developing an index finger spread all over Mars. And then one fine day, terrestrial called him for examination. Rhythm took all care so that they could not recognize his index finger. Terrestrials examined his hand very carefully. They could not find an index finger. Then they set him free, asked him to go away. As Rhythm is leaving the building, one terrestrial said, "Please, you are all good people. Martians are very peace loving. Don't be taken over by this index finger problem. Index finger is very problematic to you. It destroys all of us. Don't have this ego that you are Martians. Try to live in harmony with terrestrials as humans," he said. Rhythm could not control himself. He could not hold himself back from giving an answer. He said, "I know all about you terrestrials. Even you don't live in harmony. You kill each other. You destroy each other. And by terrorizing others, you try to subjugate others." The moment words left his mouth, Rhythm understood the mistake he has committed. Before he could finish his words, terrestrials surrounded him. "Come, show your hand," they shouted. And as Rhythm forgot discretion and started answering back, his index finger started growing. They saw his index finger. They arrested him. And then they decided that his index finger has to be cut from roots. Rhythm tried to reason with them, but they did not give him a chance to speak. Rhythm wanted to say that whatever he said is a fact. It is all written in their own texts, and what he quoted was only from their text, and it is nothing of his creation. He did not say untruth. What he said is a fact. But they never tried to listen to him, and however much he tried to plead, they were becoming more belligerent. And the more he spoke, the more his index finger started growing. "You are dare enough point out a finger at terrestrials? You insult terrestrials? We cut your finger. Only then your mind becomes normal." All terrestrials started shouting together like animals. Then they tried to cut his finger. Then Rhythm tried to reason with his own Martians. "You Martians, it is our right to have an index finger. We all should grow an index finger. If we all join together, these terrestrials can do nothing to us." But no Martian came to his rescue. "Who asked you to develop an index finger? Even if you develop, who asked you to show it? And because of you, all our lives are endangered." Some criticized him. "Anybody with an index finger is not a Martian, and we have no relation with him," declared a few Martians. It is not bad to have an index finger, but to develop index finger to such an extent is bad, some Martians reasoned. Then when terrestrials do not like us Martians to have an index finger, why should we try to develop it? People started finding fault with Rhythm, and those people with index finger also found fault with Rhythm. Then you should use index finger with discretion, otherwise you will have to encounter such punishment, people said. Then Rhythm felt dejected. He said, "Those people who cannot call spade a spade and cannot speak a fact and support when somebody speaks facts do not deserve to have an index finger. Kindly cut my index finger and relieve me of this pain." He started pleading with all the terrestrials. Then terrestrials, in jubilation, started cutting his finger. "Mother, what is happening outside? Why there is so much of shouting?" a small child asked his mother. "They are cutting index finger of our Martians. Martians are not supposed to have an index finger. If it is there, they'll cut it." Then the child in fear looked at his hand and started searching for his index finger. Then he just hugged his mother and started crying. Then his mother told him, "Don't worry, child. As we are not united, they are able to cut our index fingers individually. Now let us all try to grow our index fingers, and then let us see how many index fingers will be cut. And one day they will have to leave our Mars planet," she said. This story is dedicated to all those Martians who use their index finger and have their heads cut. Thank you. If you like the story, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel, and also express your opinion through comment. Thank you very much. And also, if you want to listen to the Telugu audio version, there is a link provided, and if you want to read the Telugu text, also a link is provided. Please read the story, express your opinion, and help us in giving you more quality stories through Swajaya and Sanchika. Namaskaram.